Hey, welcome FCS educators. It's Rob Almy, the FCS AI Integration Coordinator. Thank you so much for watching this video as I seek to give you a little bit of help with AI, whether you're taking your first step with AI or your next step with AI. Large language models like Gemini, ChatGPT, Grok, and others are powerful tools, but they're only as good as the instructions that they receive. So today we're going to master the fundamental skill needed to unlock AI's potential and give instructions to AI, and we call that prompting. So this video is about mastering AI prompting for educators. So what is a prompt? Simply put, a prompt is the input, the question or instructions that you give to an AI chatbot, or to what we call a large language model like Gemini or ChatGPT. It's the starting point for any conversation or a task. Think of it as kind of a lesson plan that you hand to a very fast and very eager teaching assistant. So a prompt is basically what you are telling the AI to do. Now, prompts are important because they act as sort of these well-crafted bridges that are bridging the gap between your intent and the AI's output. So if you put in a very vague prompt to the large language model, it's going to give you a generic, time-wasting response. In fact, this is what frustrates many people as they are first starting out with AI, is that they give it a prompt, but it's not a very good prompt. And then the large language model, the chatbot, returns something and they say, oh, this AI is of no use. It's not any good. Well, the problem most times is not with the AI. The problem is with us, the prompter. On the other hand, a precise prompt ensures that you get a relevant and very usable, a high quality resource, saving you valuable time on lesson planning, whether you're using the AI for assessment design or for differentiation. So the question becomes then, what makes a good prompt? A truly effective prompt really has three characteristics. First, it has to be clear. So the task that you want the AI to do has to be unmistakable. Second is that you have to give the AI some context. Give it some background. If you give the AI the background information that the AI needs, the chances are you're going to get a much better result. And third, you must give it some constraints. You must constrain it. Tell the AI how to deliver the answer. So for example, if you want the answer to come back in bullet points, then tell it, give me back the response in bullet points. Or if you want the response to be in a paragraph form, tell it, give me 2 paragraphs. I have found that the best way to build these powerful prompts and to get prompts straight in our minds by using a simple 4-step framework. There's many different frameworks out there for how to create these prompts to put into these chatbots, but I like to use what's called the RACE model. The RACE model, where each of those words forms an acrostic. The R, each of those letters, the R, the A, the C, and the E. So the R stands for role, the A stands for action, the C stands for context, and the E stands for expectation. And so when we prompt, we're going to give the AI a role, we're going to give it an action, we're going to tell it the context, and then we are going to give it some expectations about what we want the output to be, and then we're going to do something special at the end that I will go ahead and show you. So let's go through each one of those, the R, the A, the C, and the E of the RACE model for prompting. And so when it comes to the R in the RACE model for prompting, the first thing that you want to do is to give the AI a role. You want to tell it kind of in what capacity it is acting. And of course, it's going to mimic you. So you might say, as you start off the prompt, you are a 12th grade AP history teacher at a Christian school. Or you might start off by giving it the role of saying, take the role of a curriculum design expert. And so this is the persona that you assign to the AI. And it drastically affects the tone and the expertise of the response. So instead of write me a summary, you say something like, you are a ninth grade AP history teacher at a Christian school. Write for me a summary of the Industrial Revolution. Okay, or as I said, take the role of a curriculum design expert. This grounds the AI's entire response in a specific perspective. Now, some people say it's kind of semantics and just word use, but I don't like to say act as a 12th grade AP history. You are, okay? I don't want to act it. I want it to think that it is a teacher. So I always like to say you are instead of act as. At the end of the day, does it matter? Probably not. But anyways, just the semantics type of thing. All right, the second part of the race model for prompting, the A stands for not only do you give it a role, but then you give it an action. You give it an action. This is the verb of your prompt, the precise instructions of what you want the AI to generate. And here you want to be specific. Are you asking it to draft a 5-minute warm-up activity? Are you asking the AI to generate 3 rubric options? Are you asking the AI to adapt the text for an ELL student? You want to give it an action. So you've given it a role, you've given it an action, and then we're going to move on to the C, where we want to give it context or constraints. This is going to provide the crucial background details and sets the boundaries of the task. So this is where you insert key information like the subject. So for example, you might be talking about the water cycle, or you might be talking about the Pythagorean theorem. You want to maybe give it time limits. So you might say, I want you to help create a hands-on lesson on the Industrial Revolution for a 35-minute time block. So you're giving it some constraints. You can also reference specific materials that the AI must incorporate. So you could say, make sure that you are creating an activity that is from many different perspectives when it comes to the Industrial Revolution, from the owners to the workers to the middle class, or something like that. And so the C stands for the constraints or the context. And so we had the role, we had the action, and then we give it the context, and then finally we move on to the E, and that stands for expectations. Tell the AI what you want. This tells the AI how you want the final response delivered and what defines a successful output. Do you want the response formatted as a 3-column table? Or do you need it to use only simple, accessible language suitable for a 3rd grade reading level? Setting expectations ensures that the output is instantly ready to use and that you can take it and you can copy it into a Google document or to a Word document, or you can take it and you can copy it, paste it into Google Classroom or wherever it is that you are working. And so we have those 4 things, the R, the A, the C, and the E of the RACE model for prompting. Now, when we get to the end of that prompt, what we want to do then is always put something at the end that I'm going to share with you. You always want to end with a question or a statement asking for questions, I should say. At the end of every prompt, you want to say, please ask any clarifying questions. And I always like to say one by one because I don't want it to ask me 10 questions at once and I have to go through and answer. So please ask me any clarifying questions one by one to help you provide the best possible response. And that way, if you haven't given it something that it thinks it needs to give you the best response, whether you've got some of the context or the time frame that you wanted, say for an activity for a lesson or whatever it might be, it has the opportunity now, and you encourage it to ask you a question, and you can give a response that will help it to give you a better response. And then when it gives you your response back, you can refine it. You can say, you can tell it after you've given them a response. It's not one and done. You can tell it, please redo this. Please change that. Please clarify this. and do it over again. Please focus in more on that. And so the big fancy word we use for that is called prompt iteration. And so you can go through it as many times as you would like to make it better and better until it outputs what you want. And so that is called prompt iteration. And so that is the race model for prompting. And so again, assign a role, give it an action, state the task, give it some context, and give the expectations, define the output. By using that simple framework, you're giving the AI a blueprint for success, transforming, vague requests into powerful time-saving resources for your classroom. So you can kind of hang your mind around that, and if you want to write that down, go ahead and write it down, the R, the A, the C, and the E, the role, the action, the context, and the expectations. But let's say you get too confused with all of it. Here's a trick. You can ask the AI to give you a prompt to use with the AI. And so you can tell Gemini or ChatGPT, hey, I'm struggling to create a prompt for my third grade class teaching fractions. And I want to create an activity for that can be put into a choice board. And so you just simply ask the chatbot, you ask the AI, please help me create a prompt. And then it'll give you something, and you can massage that prompt that it gives you and make it your own, and then actually give it to it. So if you have trouble making these prompts and you're like, I can make these prompts, as good as some people, well, just ask the AI to help you. All right, so that is the race model for prompting, a little bit of background on prompting, because that's where it really all begins when it comes to AI. So why don't we go ahead and try a few of these out, and let's go to the races, so to speak. And so what I'm going to do here is try to get out of this if I can. And we are going to head over to Gemini. And what we are going to do is make sure that we come up here into the top and we type in gemini.google.com right up there in the address bar. You can get to it other ways as well, but that will take you to Gemini. Okay, and Gemini is what we use here at FCS. It is what we have paid for that gives us better models and options. And so you will see here in the middle of the chat box, and that is where we are going to put our prompts. See, it says here, enter a prompt for Gemini. Now, these prompts will work with Gemini, they'll work with ChatGPT, they'll work with Grok, they'll work in many ways with Claude and other types of large language models. They all basically kind of work the same when it comes to prompting. So I have already created some prompts that I'm going to go ahead and get from another document, and then go ahead and put them in here. So I'm going to come over here to this Word document where I have some prompts here, and I'm just going to copy and paste it into Google. Now, you can type in your own prompts. You can also come over here and use the microphone. If you have your microphone turned on your computer, you can go ahead and speak them into it. So I'm just going to paste the prompt in there. So here's the prompt. You are an experienced high school history teacher at a Christian school. All right, you're establishing its role. Okay, now we're going to give it its action. Provide 3 hands-on activity ideas that promote collaboration and active learning. And then we're going to give it some context for a lesson on the on the Industrial Revolution. And then here's my question at the end, right? Or my statement. Please ask any clarifying questions one by one to help you provide the best possible response. So there's my prompt, and I've put it in here. This little arrow to the right, if you hover over it, says submit. Here, just hit that. Okay, I've hit it. It says, to make sure I tailor these activities perfectly for your students, could you tell me which specific themes or topics within the Industrial Revolution you're planning to cover in this lesson? Is it going to be inventions, factory life, urbanization, or social reforms? Let's just say inventions. So I typed in inventions. That's gone through what it does. Okay. So this is a fantastic focus. Inventions are the engine of the Industrial Revolution. These activities will help your students grasp the massive changes that they brought. Here are 3 hands-on collaborative activities centered on inventions, keeping our specific school context in mind. So they have this factory assembly line. This is a classic for a reason. It physically and emotionally demonstrates the shift from skilled artisan work to unskilled factory labor, a direct result of new machinery. Divide the class into groups of 4 to 5. Give each student a blank piece of paper and a simple object to draw, a car, a house, or even the school's mascot. Time them for 3 minutes to see how many complete, high-quality drawings they can make individually. Tally the class total. Round 2, the factory. Now assign each student in the group one specific task in an assembly line. For the car example, Student 1 draws 2 circles for wheels. Student 2 draws the car body connecting the wheels. Student 3 draws the window and door. Student 4 draws the steering wheel and the headlights and acts as quality control. Time them for another 3 minutes, passing the paper down the line. Count the total number of completed cars. Collaboration. Students must coordinate, hands off, set a pace, and work as a single unit. The quality control student has to manage the group's output. Debrief and offer a Christian perspective. Which round produced more? Which produced better drawings? How did you feel in round 1 versus round 2? Discuss efficiency versus dignity. The assembly line, like the new machines, created more goods, but at what cost to the worker's skill, pride, and identity? This is a perfect place to discuss the Imago Dei, image of God. We are created to be creative and take satisfaction in our work like an artisan. How did the new system challenge that? It helps students see the human and spiritual consequences of the inventions. All right, we're not going to go through each one of these, but you see what it outputted. Now, you might not like that. You may like that. You may want to take that and massage it and turn it into your own and not use all of it. It's up to you. Again, use your wisdom, use your discernment, because we know that the AI is not perfect. There's one here for Shark Tank, 1800 invention pitch. That sounds interesting. And then one called The Living Machine. And so that was the result of that prompt. Let's go ahead and get another prompt here. Just copying and pasting. Back over here. Okay, now you see my chat box is down here. I pasted in my prompt. You're an experienced 3rd grade teacher at a Christian school. Explain the water cycle using simple language and analogies that a 3rd grader could easily understand. Do so in no more than 2 paragraphs, and then give me those paragraphs in a format I can use for slides. Please ask any clarifying questions one by one to help you provide the best possible response. Again, I'm going to come over here to my submit button, click submit. It says to best tailor this explanation for your 3rd graders. Are there any specific biblical stories, themes, or Christian concepts you'd like me to gently integrate into the water cycle explanations? In other words, God's provision, creation's design. Let's do God's provision. Okay, so here it's going to produce for us 2 paragraphs. The water cycle is God's amazing design for making sure we always have fresh, clean water. You can think of it like a giant natural recycling system that constantly works for us. It all starts with collection, which is the water we see in big lakes, rivers, and oceans. When the sun shines, it acts like a big heavenly hair dryer. It warms the water and turns into an invisible gas called water vapor. This part is called evaporation. The vapor is so light that it floats up, up, up into the sky, leaving all the dirt and salt behind. This process is a wonderful example of God's provision. He cleans and purifies the water before it goes anywhere else. And then it goes into the second paragraph of the description of the water cycle. And then we had asked it, of course, to give us some words that could go on a slide. So here's slide 1, God's amazing water cycle. Slide 2, clouds and rain. And so I could just copy this and paste it into a Google slide presentation or a PowerPoint, whatever it is that I use. And then again, as I say, use your wisdom and discernment. You've seen these 2 paragraphs that it produced. Is it good? Do you need to go back and change anything? Is it good to go? Just copy and paste it, or copy and paste it and change it. Again, use your wisdom and discernment. All right, let's finish with the last prompt here. Copy and paste it. I'm back down here to the little chat window. Pasted it in. I'm going to hit submit, a little button here. So I should have read the prompt before I hit submit, but here's what it says. You're an experienced middle school math teacher in algebra. Create 2 word problems using real life scenarios that a middle schooler would encounter that involve one-step algebraic equations. Please also provide the solution for me, the teacher. You like that, don't you? Please ask any clarifying questions one by one to help you provide the best possible response. It says, to make sure these problems fit perfectly with your current lesson, should the one-step equations focus on addition, subtraction, or multiplication, division? We're going to say addition and subtraction. All right, so here he goes. Gives us 2 word problems. Sarah saved $78 from her allowance to buy a new video game that cost $95. After checking her account, she realized she still needs to earn a little more money before she can buy the game. Write and solve an algebraic equation to find out exactly how much more money, and they give the variable m, Sarah, needs to save. And then they give a second problem. And here's your solution. So the solution for the first one, the variable let m be the amount of money Sarah still needs. And so the money saved plus the money needed equals the total cost. So 78 plus the money needed, m, equals 95. Of course, then you subtract 78 from the left side. What you do to the left side, we math teachers know, right? You have to also do to the right. And so when you do that, you come up with she needs $17 more. Okay, look, it says I can even export this into Google Sheets. How about that? And there's the solution to the second problem. And so when we think about using AI, it really all begins with prompting. And so again, if you go to gemini.google.com and you prompt here in the chat, I encourage you to go ahead and to play with that, to experiment with that, to use your own prompts. And remember, if you get stuck, use the race model for prompting. And if you really get stuck, you can just ask the chat to help you create a prompt. So I hope that was helpful for you. And I pray that you go well and that you have a great day.